If you feel overwhelmed about the real estate market and really not sure where to start, well, you've come to the right place. What's happening, guys? I'm Austin Evans with Signature Properties, and today I have a very special guest with me, Sara Perez with Commerce Title. Sara, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good, awesome. Well, guys, Sara Perez is what I would say one of the leading experts in the title field here in Central Arkansas. And guys, she is my go-to person for not only all title work for my clients, but also for myself. So Sara, just thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so guys, today, a lot of people I've talked to and clients I've worked with, they have, when I bring up, hey, who do you want to close with? What title company do you want to use? I get that deer in the headlight looks. And it's just like, what's title? What are you talking about? And so I wanted to bring Sara on today to ask her a few questions about what title work is, what she does on a day-to-day basis, and really give a little more insights and pull back the curtain, so to speak, Sara, so people can kind of see what you do and why title's really important. So Sara, let's back up. So can you just explain for everyone out there, what does a title agent do? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I answer the phone a lot.
Yeah.
But on a day-to-day basis, basically we receive offers and contracts from agents and clients. We set those up. We do a 30-year title search. So we go back through the courthouse records for 30 years, pulling deeds and mortgages to make sure that title to the property is clean and clear and ready to be transferred to the new owner. So it's a lot of computer work, a lot of typing, a lot of searching, a lot of asking questions. But that's basically what we do day to day is just, dig through the courthouse records to find out what's going on with the property that's being sold.
Okay. So first off, how long have you been doing title work and how did you get into it?
I've been in the industry since 2006.
Okay.
Interesting enough, I just started out as a temp, as a secretary.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Phone.
Okay.
Yes, I answered the phones in 2006. That's how I started with title and in the industry, and then worked my way up to closing agent. So I had to learn what a title company does.
So you didn't plan, like you didn't wake up and go, I'm gonna go be a title agent today. You didn't go, I'm gonna go do it. So you just happened to fall into it, and then did they just were like, hey, you should do this type thing? Like, hey, you would be really good at this. Let's do this.
That's exactly what happened.
Okay. So what did you do prior to title?
Prior to title, I was a receptionist at a gym. I worked at a gym for 6 years. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, we have that in common. I was in the fitness industry before I got into real estate. So,
exactly.
I mean, hey, a lot of good things come from the gym, guys. Remember
there you go.
that.
Shameless plug.
Exactly. All right, guys. So now that we've kind of pulled back the curtains and really been able to see what Sara does as a title agent, and really you can kind of see on a day-to-day what they actually do, day-to-day for a living. Let's walk through what happens and how does title fit into the home buying or selling process. So Sara, when someone's buying or selling a house, when do they need to involve you into the process?
Okay, when you have an accepted offer, when you have buyer and seller in agreement to purchase property or real estate, you need a title agent to do that check of the records to see what liens, mortgages, any old deeds that were not clear that need to be cleaned up in order for transfer of title to go smoothly for our new buyers. You also need title insurance.
That's a big one.
Title insurance ensures the new buyer that if someone knocks on their door at any point while they're in ownership of the home and says, I have a mortgage, I have a lien on your house that was not paid, your title insurance will cover court costs, attorney fees, anything to clear that up and ensure a clear title again.
Yeah. And those liens, guys, a lot of times it's what's called a mechanics lien that I'm sure you see a lot. And the mechanics lien could be something as simple as, let's say the seller of the house you're buying, they installed a pool and they decided not to pay the pool concrete guy, whatever. And they put a lien on the house. And if they don't pay it, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where the title insurance can really help
Correct.
with all that.
Yes.
And so in that scenario, for instance, if you find a lien on a house, what happens? Like at what happens during the process before we get to closing?
We have to clear it. We have to go back to the prior owner or whoever the lien was actually against originally and work with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it involves hiring attorneys to negotiate out the process, but we have to work with them to clear that prior to closing, prior to that transfer, the deed being signed into our buyers.
Yeah. And to something to note, a lot of people may not know this, but whether you're buying or selling, you can choose your title agent.
correct.
It's not, so if you're ever in a situation where you're told, and I've seen this before happen with houses I've listed where I represent the seller, we get an offer and the offer says you must close with their title agent. That's, here in Arkansas, that's not the case, guys. You as the seller or buyer, you can choose whoever you want to close with. So a lot of times it does happen where you see both parties close with different title companies. So in that scenario, because it may be new to people, you're working with the other title company, correct?
Correct.
How's that relationship working?
We have great working relationships with all of our local title companies. We're very used to a split closing, is what we call it, where the seller closes at one title company, the buyer closes at another, and we just work together to ensure that the transaction goes smoothly, that everything is understood and clear. Communication is clear on both ends, just to make sure that the transaction closes on the appropriate date with the parameters laid out through the contract.
Yeah. And usually, guys, something I do with all my clients is right after, like Sarah said earlier, you get that accepted contract, my team is sending out closing information. Basically, so it's a sheet that is sent to Sarah or whoever your title person is, and basically spells out kind of what's are the terms of the deal, what's going to go on, along with the signed contract. And that's really at the point, kind of at the beginning, guys, of the process. You want to see who your title agent is. So it's imperative that you, as the client, whether you're buying or selling, that whatever realtor you're working with, they're having this conversation with you on the front end. Like before we would list the house or even go buy a house, it's a conversation that has to be had about, hey, do you know a title agent? If you have a relationship with that person, use them. But if you don't, your realtor should be well connected to people like Sarah, who they like, trust, and believe can bring into the fold, knowing they can get us from contract to closing. Because at the end of the day, we all want to get across that goal line. So we've kind of addressed, during the typical home buying or selling process, how you fit in. What about in, I would say, the non-traditional sense of that process? What are some other ways people would need your services in the title industry?
I have a lot of investors that are buying properties at like auction at the courthouse, and they have us check title prior to going to the auction, so they know if there was an issue with the foreclosure or something in advance, to know if it's worth their time and energy and money to go out there and buy those properties at auction. So we do provide that service as well, where we check title prior to you going to a real estate auction, just to be sure you are aware of what issues are out there that might need to be cleared up prior to you selling that property. So we do that as well. In any commercial property or rezoning issue that you need a 200-foot search or even a 300-foot search of the property, we will do those as well. We search that for our folks that are trying to, rezone any sort of property for whatever purpose they need.
Okay.
So that's another issue.
Do you handle, let's say, inheritance, so to speak? So like if passing of parents, it was in their trust, so to speak, it was deeded over to the children. Do you handle any of that as well?
We do.
Okay.
We also refer out to attorneys for that as well, but we do handle a part of that, especially if the property's in a trust and they're selling the property. We do handle that end of the transaction, but we do refer to attorneys for part of that as well.
Okay. All right. And last question, and this is kind of a fun one, guys. I've heard some of these stories. So give us a few examples of some unique things you've experienced. And guys, she's experienced some unique things at the closing table. A lot of funny things can happen at closing. So can you give us some examples of some funny stuff that's happened?
All right, so the first one that comes to mind is I was proposed to at the closing table, not by my spouse. So that one was interesting.
That'll be. So did you close? Like
we did close.
Oh, good. Okay.
I said no, and we still closed. It did bring into question, is this person competent?
Yes. Yes.
But we asked the standard questions to prove that, and carried on with the closing. But that one was awkward. I've had one. This one's kind of stressful.
Okay.
There was a husband and wife. They were buying a house, and there is an affidavit you sign. It's called a name affidavit. There were some additional last names for the wife's name affidavit that the husband was not aware of. I excused myself from that closing while they hashed out some unknown names. They did finish closing, but that one got really interesting.
A little marital counseling going on at the closing table there.
We needed it. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's something else. I don't think we've not had any interesting.
No, you and I have, which is good. Like you want smooth transactions,
and typically we do.
Yes.
But sometimes they're not. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that can go on in the process of one of the largest financial decisions of people's lives. I mean, stress levels tend to rise a little, and you get proposed to, at the closing table. Because why not?
I mean, the mood, I guess. I'm not sure.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for you just hopping on here today and really educating the viewers out there about title work and what you do and how this all works in the real estate process. How can people get a hold of you if they want to contact you for title work? Where are the best ways to get a hold of you?
Best way to reach me, just call my office number. My direct number is 501-588-3983. You can always shoot me an email at sarah.perez, commercetitlear.com, or give Austin a call, and he'll put you in touch with us.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. And guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Hope this was really beneficial. Hope you enjoyed it. Learning some fun, interesting things about title and what could happen at the closing table. So thanks so much, guys. Hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day.